And good afternoon. I'm Nikki Davidson. Happening right now, the Barron County Sheriff is getting ready to hold a press conference to release new information on the Jamie Kloss case. An essential part of their life-saving operation. Sometimes they've used it on multiple people in just one day.
When you're watching those results, do you have a candidate that you're hoping will win, that you really want to run against in the future?
We'll see who our opponent will be.
The power is out at our Fox 21 studio, so we are going to be doing this entire newscast taped on the scene of all of the damage. After a few seconds of terror, it's time to jump. A shark fin, it's jagged ice that occurs when layers of ice are crushed together.
New Year's Eve approaches. People are going to be out drinking alcohol and having a good time, of course. But do you know your limit?
The flames were so high that they could not immediately start fighting it.
If you take a look behind me, you'll see the crime scene. It is the bottle shop and the victim's residence behind it. Yeah, they're monitoring the air out there, and that's kind of going to be the determining factor of when the evacuation order is going to be lifted.
The Democrats and Republicans are facing a lot of tension.
To get all of that smoke slid off of this turnout gear, they have to place it into an extractor like this. It's a process that takes at least an hour per person's gear.
Luigi and Mario. Can you tell me what Mario says?
Mamma mia.
It's extremely cold out here tonight. My phone has died many times, but the point of all of this is to show the people that are coming to the Super Bowl that here in Minnesota, we do not just stay inside and read a book when it is winter time.
It's time to go back to the studio.
Fox 21 had a few familiar faces in the field, including Nikki Davidson, who ran the half marathon for Lutheran Social Service.
You know, I'm doing this run, but then there are kids out there in the Twin Ports that don't have a place to sleep tonight. Like, how uncomfortable am I right now for these 2 hours? A little uncomfortable, but probably has nothing in comparison to how they feel every night when they don't have a place to go home.
The prison release of a repeat violent sex offender in Spooner, Wisconsin is prompting a lot of questions about the judicial system tonight.
That's right. No one in town will rent him a house or apartment, so the Justice Department is allowing him to live homeless in a tent in the woods just feet away from a park, school, and daycare.
55-year-old William Baugh pleaded guilty to the aggravated battery of an elderly person and third-degree sexual assault in Washburn County in 2010. He was also convicted for a solicit, induce, promote prostitution charge of a 16-year-old in Minnesota back in 1984. He's been in and out of prison over the last several years on parole violations. He wears a GPS monitoring device but had his probation revoked last March after, quote, failing to abide by his GPS schedule, attempting to conceal his movements, and leaving his apartment. Last week, Spooner police put out word that Baugh, who is considered at risk to reoffend, would be released again, but without an address, meaning he would be temporarily homeless. The Wisconsin Department of Corrections says Baugh must still legally keep his electronic tracking bracelet charged or be arrested. So now he's living in a tent in the woods behind the Spooner probation office, which is only about a block away from here.
I run a daycare with 65 kids here just about every day. I went on high alert.
Joanna Shelton, owner of Creative Kids Learning Center, says the daycare is on lockdown, with Baugh living essentially in their backyard.
Not saying that he would do anything, but we're just being super proactive here. We have a lot of responsibility to keep the kids safe here.
Parents say they see him while picking up their kids. Sheldon says she's seen him herself nearby.
He was sitting at a picnic table in the pouring rain, and I honestly felt really bad. I think that our system is a little flawed in the fact that this is supposed to be a reward per se for him getting out. I don't think that it was really a fair situation, but again, what he did was not okay either.
The probation office is even closer to this school and City Park. It's just across the street from both.
There's just kind of like a chill that is going through the neighborhood. Right across the street from where he is sleeping in a tent is the Head Start. There is not enough teachers versus children to make that okay at all.
Locals say it's clear the system is failing this community and William Baugh.
He has nothing to lose.
It's cold up here.
Yes. So what's to say in a month's time he's not reoffending just to get back into jail?
But the Department of Corrections tells us, quote, ultimately, BA is responsible for identifying a residence that complies with state law and local ordinances. And his situation is not rare. They report there are currently 546 homeless sex offenders in Wisconsin alone.
And the city of Spooner now has created an ordinance unanimously passing a resolution that will go into effect tomorrow that would ban sex offenders from living less than 1,000 feet away from any school, licensed daycare center, park, recreational trail, or any other place where children are known to congregate. And that ordinance will make his current campsite in violation of city code. I did attempt to get his side of the story, but I was not able to contact him.
Tonight, it's a story of friendship made in a way that you just don't hear about very often.
That's right. It's a mix of the past and present and a message that took 2 decades to be delivered. Here's a story out of Madeline Island.
Maybe you've seen this before, a wave on Facebook. It's not much to make you think twice, except this particular wave was a response to a much older message. Only the recipient, Emily Calesi, wouldn't know it at the time. It's a story of an unusual bond between strangers, created all thanks to Lake Superior. For Charles Nelson, it started back in October when a storm sent massive waves crashing onto the Madeline Island shore, taking out docks and beaches in the process. The next day, while on a search for driftwood, he found something else.
I found this bottle immediately, and I just thought it was garbage. I picked it up, thought it was garbage on the beach, and then I noticed it was full of water, so I drained it out.
It didn't take long to realize it wasn't an average bottle. There was something inside.
Dear Finder, I just thought I'd try and see where this letter goes. My name is Emily. I'm a 15-year-old girl from Minnetonka, Minnesota. If anyone finds this, please write to me. And then I noticed on the date it was 1995.
First, the question of how.
Where could it have been safely? Through, and you think about it, 22 winters, the ice heaving, how could it last for 22 years? And the message is just like the day she wrote it.
Then the search to write back to Emily. It wasn't easy. She'd moved from the address listed on the letter back in the 90s. So the search took off in a place that wasn't even created until well after that note was written.
My friend actually ended up going to the same high school that she did. So she was an alumni, so she went onto the high school records and found her and said, here, this is her, and sent me an email with her picture, with her husband and her little boy on Facebook.
And then came that wave.
So I messaged her and waved, and she waved back, and I said, I think you need to call me. I have something of yours.
They talked on the phone and agreed. A meeting needed to happen so Emily could get her note back.
Dear Finder, I just thought I'd try this and see where my letter goes. You know, I think back then, I probably was really hoping that some nice stud high school boy was going to find it and call me up and whisk me away to prom or something.
Prom is no longer on Emily's mind. She has graduated college, started a career, gotten married, and had her first child. All parts of her life that she's lived since the day she threw this bottle into the lake on an annual sailing trip near Madeline Island.
A couple of us on these early trips thought this would be a fun idea to see if anything came back. And so that's the piece that I really remember, is tossing that out and just thinking we were so adventurous.
Now she says it's her own personal time capsule.
I didn't have an email address. That's crazy to think that 22 years ago I didn't have an email that I could put in here. I had to put a physical address.
But the timing of the response makes it all the more unexpected, because after a yearly tradition of sailing trips on Madeline Island.
Last year, my dad and I actually decided that after 25 years, we were needing to stop going on this trip just due to age and our family situations.
It's as if the lake knew it was time to finally find a recipient for the message she left so long ago.
It's kind of like the trip that keeps on giving.
And Charles says he feels the lake was trying to tell him something too.
You could walk past it and not even know it. And like I did, I could have, if I didn't care about the garbage, I wouldn't have even picked it up. I wouldn't have known. So it's like the lake was thanking me for picking up garbage.
Well, Charles and Emily plan to stay in touch, and Emily also wants people to know that she's sorry for for littering in the lake. She was only 15 years old, after all. In case anyone wants to say, don't throw plastic into the lake. She said she's not going to do that anymore.
That is so funny.